Hey guys, Motorcar Nut here, and today we're talking about leaks underneath your car. Some of these leaks can cost you maybe a couple of bucks. Some of these can cost you thousands of dollars. How do you know which one is which? Well, I'm going to explain a couple today. We're using a VW as an example, but leaks can happen from any vehicle. All right. First of all, the number one thing you should do when your car looks something like this, all right, it's wet everything. The best thing to do is to clean it all. Use an engine degreaser, clean everything, and let it dry. And don't drive the car, all right? And put maybe cardboard down nice and clean after it's all dry. So in the morning, good to do it during the day and let it sit and clean all the whole night and let it dry. And in the morning, if you see any drips, when you look up, everything should be nice and clean and you should see where the drip is. All right, that's number one. Number two, all right, what type of drip is this? All right, this is engine oil. It could be coolant. Oh, this car's leaking everything, so I can show you everything. Here we go. Look at this one. Even though it looks like it's orange, it looks like oil, but that's coolant. That's coolant leak. All right. Hopefully your car won't have that many leaks. This car's been having leaks and they've just been driving it like, not a care in the world. And that's how it ends up with me. So I'm trying to help you avoid visiting me. All right? So now, let's take this VW. And then, again, let me back up. I'm sorry. You got a four-cylinder engine. You're going to have the engine and the transmission, whichever way it doesn't matter. In the middle, all right, you're usually going to have some kind of a weep hole. You see this little weep hole? That is to show you if it's leaking. It'll drip out of there. Normally, some cars don't have it, but most do. Now, again, even if that's leaking, right, you have to determine what it is. In this area, it can be, especially on a VW, this could be engine oil, this could be transmission fluid, this can be coolant, all right? So, again, we're doing this with a dirty engine. Let's assume it was clean. First thing you want to do, even if it's dirty like this, and if you see over here, if that's transmission fluid leaking, that could be the front pump seal. There's a converter. The converter slides into the transmission, and there's a seal there. It's a front pump seal or converter seal. On the engine part, where the crankshaft is, a big seal. It's called a main seal. This is the rear of the engine, so that's called the rear main seal. If it's leaking oil out of here, it could be the rear main seal. Why I say it could be is because not all the time it is. Now, we see this is very oily. It's hard to tell what it is because I didn't clean it. We don't know exactly what this is. Looks like oil. What you do is you go to the back, right? Now you look up. Now, if anything is wet up there, that cancels out anything down here what it can be because it's going to travel. If it's leaking up there, you got to find out why it's leaking up there first. Okay, usually if it's leaking up there, it's not going to be a transmission seal because there's no other transmission, unless it's a transmission cooling line that could be leaking. So that right away will give you a good idea that hopefully it's not the transmission seal. Which what that would mean is you have to take the transmission out. It's usually easy to take the transmission out or the engine. But it's usually even though both of those cost hundreds of dollars to do. All right, depending on the car. Now look at this. Now I know this. There's so many leaks, it's so hard, is engine oil. All right, now engine oil, here's the output shaft seal for the transmission. It's all wet here too. Look at this. So this doesn't look like transmission fluid. So what I believe is it's coming from the top. Now, like I said, you have to clean the engine first unless you're just going to be guessing or get scared or you're going to bring it to a dishonest mechanic and it's go, oh, thousands of dollars. You understand? So let's go. So right now we know it's wet up there. That cancels out anything out down here. Sure, it could be leaking here too, but it ain't going to leak down here and all of a sudden fly up there. It just doesn't work. Yeah, the wind from blowing it can blow it around here, but it ain't gonna blow it all the way up in there. It's just not gonna do that. All right, that's physics. All right, this thing is leaking everywhere, but let's go on the top. Okay, now we're on the top of the engine. Now, on your vehicle, you gotta see, is everything dry? If everything is dry over here, okay, so that eliminates one thing. But if you're all wet like this, you have to clean it. You're not going to know where it's coming from. It can be leaking from here. It can be leaking from the cam cover. It could be leaking from a valve cover, plastic valve cover that you may have. It could be leaking from anywhere. This one is so dirty that it could be leaking from anywhere. But on this particular car, and I made a video on this, you have a vacuum pump. And it's right here. And it's controlled by the camshaft that also has oil. Now, if you look down here, all right, you see all this oil and everything? So that's telling me, because it's typical on these cars, that there's a leak here that's leaking down. Okay? So once you clean everything up, right, and everything is clean, and you start the engine, let it idle, and you check. You get a little inspection mirror and you check everywhere. Even if your car's not a VW, it doesn't matter. I'm just using this as an example. All right, you look around anywhere where even where the oil filter is, sometimes they don't put them on tight enough. That'll be a nice one, right? You just tighten it up and you're done. Sometimes it can be the oil pressure sensor. See this sensor? Everything looks like it's leaking here, but these sensors, they leak because of they're plastic, they crack and they leak oil. That could also give you low pressure codes. You don't cast that in time, it'll give you low oil pressure. Now you just blew an engine because you really didn't know that it was leaking from a $5 part or $10 part. All right, so in this case with this car, let me put it down. I can't see, but maybe you will. Let's put it over here. It's hard. You see all that oil over here? That's leaking something from somewhere. And in this case, I know it's probably, on this particular car, the vacuum pump has oil going through it and it has a seal in there that leaks. So that would have to be fixed first. Then everything's cleaned again. Then you heat it up, make sure there's no leaks. Or if there is leaks, where they're coming from. Now you'll check this again, see this will be nice and dry, and you don't have any other leaks. It was just that. All right? So that applies to everything that you find leaking. You clean it, you replace it first, and then you see if you have any leaks. Same thing with over here. On the VWs, they can leak. This one has more leaks than I ever saw. Plus this car has an overheating problem. It wasn't maintained. That's basically it. And then the owner starts to bash VW. You know, it's funny, you know. Anyway, that's the proper way how to check for leaks, and hopefully your leak won't be that expensive. Most times they're not. Some of them can be tricky, even if you may even have a sensor, oil pump, oil pressure sensor that's leaking, and it may not be in an easy position over here. It may be under the manifold. It may be a little bit harder for your mechanic to get. But at least if you clean your engine and you know exactly where the leak is, when you go to get it repaired, if you can't do it yourself, at least you can tell them, and they know, hey, this guy knows a little bit. He knows what a leak is. And, you know, most mechanics are honest. All right, I'm not bad-mouthing nobody. But, you know, for whatever reason. But at least, you know, educate a consumer is the best way to go. Say, listen, I believe it's leaking from this area. They look at it with you and go, oh, yeah, it could be this or that. You know, rather than bring it in and says, it's low on oil, it's leaking everywhere. That's basically telling them that, here's my credit card, do what you want. So you don't want that. All right, guys, it's Motor Car Nut looking out for you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Please subscribe, hit that like button. Any question pertaining to this video, you leave them below. I answer all my questions. Any ideas for me to make videos, let me know, and I'll try to make them. See you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.